New Thought Media Network. We are a global broadcast network of positive music, media, and entertainment, inspiring humanity's evolution along the journey of enlightenment and creating a world of love, peace, empowerment, and prosperity for all. New Thought Media Network. Positively inspiring.
New Thought Media Network proudly presents The High Vibe Hour. The High Vibe Hour with Rev Cynthia and Rev Skip. Fridays at 11 a.m. Mountain Time. Only on New Thought Media Network.
Hey, peace and blessings, everyone, and welcome to the High Vibe Hour. I am Rev Skip.
And I'm Rev Cynthia.
Yes, you are. Hi, darling.
How are you?
There's a glow about you today. You have rosy cheeks.
I want to take credit for it, but I think it may be menopause. I'm not sure.
Oh, we get real already. I love it. I love it. So I love this because this is the podcast that allows us to talk about spirituality out of the box. So welcome y'all to the High Vibe Hour, and we're going to lift the vibration no matter what we are feeling. How you be? How you living this week? What's going on?
You know, I'm good. I'm actually kind of like reveling. I played Ricky Byers' song this morning, Grateful.
Yes.
Right. Like, and it gets back to the basics.
Yeah.
Just grateful to be alive. Grateful for today. And then I played her Genesis song when it says, like, when you're walking through difficult times, like,
yeah,
back to the beginning, right?
It's beautiful.
Mm-hmm.
It's absolutely beautiful. This is our vibe checkpoint where we get to check in and literally say, how you doing? How you feeling? And the vibe checkpoint for me, I love that you brought in Ricky. I've been listening to a lot of Ricky lately. Mm-hmm. The vibe checkpoint for me has been really remembering and trying to stay high in the vibration as we're still going through these fires here in Los Angeles. And I've never experienced anything like this. This is extraordinary.
Yeah.
And one of the things I'm seeing around me in this space of how natures, nature be naturing. Mm-hmm. And part of the work for me in this, to how am I keeping my energy high and lifted? Mm-hmm. So, part of the thing is, like, tonight we're doing an open God mic night, where I'm going out there. I'm going out to North Hollywood, and we're going to have an open mic. We're going to, there's going to be some comedy and love and singing and music. I'm going to do a poem that I wrote, based off of the 23rd Psalms. And so I'm trying to figure out, how do we maneuver through this? And it's okay to say, I'm still feeling heavy, because I do. I feel heavy in this time, but it's been a good check-in for me to really be present with what I'm feeling. So what I'm doing, I'm going to see my mom. I'm going home next week. Yes. I didn't get a chance to go home for Christmas or for Thanksgiving because I was working here at the community here in North Hollywood. You start a position and my mom understood, but she was like, well, I really hope I'm going to see you before the end of January. And I said, absolutely. Not knowing that me going home was going to be a time for me to renew my spirit as I get a chance to leave, this space right now where there's a lot of chaos.
Right.
In the city, but there's peace in the chaos. I taught that this morning. So I'm going home to hang with the family, let my mama love me up, she's going to let me love her up, and just be with family, the importance of family. Mm-hmm. And I think that is such an important, place for us to be. So, and what about you? What's happening with you this week?
So we're also I'm actually coming into LA tomorrow.
Ooh.
Because my in-laws live in LA, but my father-in-law went to Texas because his last sibling just passed away.
Oh, I'm sorry to hear that.
Right. So we're going to go hang out with Jesse's mother.
Oh,
Check in on her, especially because I know what's going on in LA right
yeah.
now.
Yeah. What part of LA is she in? Is she near any of the fires? Because there's like 6 different fires that's happening around this area. Is she near any of the fires right now?
She hasn't mentioned anything, so I'm assuming not. She's in Compton.
Oh, okay.
Uh-huh.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, so we're going to go hang out with her. So it's interesting, that there's a different vibration now. There's no agenda whatsoever other than wanting to connect and be deeper in it, like you said.
That's beautiful.
Mm-hmm.
That's beautiful. Well, Compton is so tough. The fire ain't going to Compton.
No.
Like, don't mess with Compton, man. Straight out of Compton, and the fire going, no, we're gonna jump over Compton. We ain't going to go there.
I spent a good portion of my life, the first half of my life in Watts, and Jesse grew up in Compton.
What?
So it's interesting because we were neighbors, but we didn't know each other until we met at Agape in our late 30s. Right?
Oh my goodness. I love, being a part of LA. And I know I lived out in LA before I went to Florida. I lived here in the, Southern California area for 26 years. And I went to Florida for 3 and I'm back. So I feel like I'm a Californian. I am definitely, I'm not a native, but I feel I'm a California boy. Mm-hmm. I love the different cities because when you say different names like Compton, you know the energy it brings, or Watts, the energy it brings. Mm-hmm. Culver City, the energy it brings. You could say Pasadena, you feel the energy. It's like each and every area has its own kind of vibe and energy and vibration. When you say that, Rev?
Yes, absolutely. I remember when I was in my 20s and we were at a club. I was with my one of my best friends, and some girl was picking on her in the bathroom, and she's like, "You better watch it because my girlfriend's from Watts." And I was like, "Adrian, I've never fought a day in my life."
Oh my goodness. What is it? Compton so gangster, the fire just said nope. Jay, I love that. Exactly. The fire said nope. You're in Vegas now. Do you ever think about maybe coming back to California? Would that ever be maybe kind of in your mind?
Well, the thing is, it's like, it's funny because I feel that spirit will guide me, right? If I am to relocate, it's always spirit. That is, like, I was surprised when spirit said you're moving to Vegas, and I was like, what's a minister supposed to do in Vegas?
What?
I didn't know any aspect of Vegas other than the Strip.
Right.
When I got the download to move to relocate here. But I have enjoyed it so much because there's a fraction of the traffic. The cost is so much less than California.
Yeah.
There's no state taxes. There's more space in between houses. So it just feels more open to me.
Yeah.
So at this point, I'm enjoying the spaciousness.
It's so funny because I was having a conversation with my housemate, Bill, and we were talking about and I think even you said it when I said, I'm going to Florida. And the first reaction was, Florida? I was like, why Florida? Why Florida? And then it was always about, well, I'm going out to work with, CSL Fort Lauderdale. And they were, I get it. Mm-hmm. Oh, now I get it. Because, Florida was not on my bucket list. It was not on the place that I wanted to land in. But I'm glad I did because it prepared me to come back to California. And I always talk about this as it was like my own hero's journey.
Yeah.
I left and came back. It was my own personal hero's journey. I'm glad I did Florida. I'm glad I did. What do you love about Vegas, though?
I'm going to super, super transparent and authentic.
That's okay. Okay, please. That's what we're here to do. It's transparency and spirituality and transparency. So why do you like Vegas?
I like Vegas because it puts me outside of my family's reach. For one reason, right? Because
I love it. I love it. Oh my goodness.
Right? They can't just, they don't show up at my front door.
Rev.
I'm the family member that everybody used to go to when they had emergencies. And it didn't matter if it was 2:00 in the morning or if it was really an emergency.
Wow.
And so I got conditioned to be like the paramedic that responded to everybody's emergency.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
And so I'm just, now it's like, if I have time and a desire to see them, then I get in my car and I schedule a weekend with them on the 45-minute flight. But otherwise, I'm able to participate in creative projects like this with you without like that constant interruption.
Yeah. No, I feel you on that one, especially as ministers. I feel you, because there's a place where we are always showing up for our community, or showing up for our members or our clients. We're showing up for this, or showing up for that. And then sometimes you just want to have the space for your own healing, your own restoration. And then, yes, I'm going to be there for my family, but I can't even imagine having that poured upon me as well. Although we would definitely show up and do it like we did, but maybe we have to move to Vegas so we don't. I love it.
Who would have thought coming to Vegas would give me the space I needed for my nervous system to heal, for me to grow and expand? I just never imagined that it would take place here.
Yeah. Oh my goodness. Wow. Ooh, just to breathe that in for a moment. Yay, Vegas. Yay, Vegas. Oh my goodness. Well, go ahead. Go.
But here's the cool part too, right? So my Jesse, my husband.
Yes, your husband, your Jesse.
He's sober.
We love Jesse.
He's been sober for like over 13 years. And I was like, why would you, as a sober person, want to move to Vegas? Because it's like one of his favorite cities. But he's also a big like musical enthusiast. So he loves all the Cirque shows. And he loves like rock concerts. And so the good thing about Vegas too is that everybody comes through here.
Yes.
Right? Mm-hmm.
Yeah, no, that's a great place. Right now you have Janet, and if there's someone I want to get on a plane and come to Vegas to see, it's Janet. So I'm trying to figure out how we can make this happen, because I've seen Janet twice. Yes. And both times it was a spiritual experience. So I went to the Church of Janet.
The church.
I'm okay going to, and it's like the one person I have yet to see, which I'm making it a priority. I know she'll be in Vegas, so maybe I'll have to fly out to Vegas to see her. But when Beyonce go on her next, I've never seen Beyonce in concert, and I hear talk about a spiritual musical experience. And one of I had tickets, or I had the opportunity to have tickets to go see her Renaissance. And I just, for some reason, I turned it. I think I was preaching the next day, and I didn't want to show up on the pulpit like after going to Beyonce, because I was still been in my platinum outfit on the pulpit. I was like, no, I better stay on home. So, oh my goodness, wow.
Yeah, I think there is a vibrational frequency, right? When people sing.
There is a because we truly believe in New Thought, everything is in God. God is in everything. It could be a high vibration, low vibration. So the creativity comes from where? From source. When people share their creativity, it's coming from a place of connection. So, well, there you have it.
So if you're ever in town, you guys be sure to stop by the Las Vegas Center for Spiritual Living.
Absolutely. Yeah. And if you're in town also, tomorrow, just to let you know, I'm doing a workshop at North Hollywood Church of Religious Science. It's called Create, Activate, Generate 2025. And we're going to set an intention for this period of time that we're in to usher in this new year, and to see how we can find peace within ourselves first. And then it will be shown into our consciousness, and that's tomorrow, 11 o'clock at North Hollywood Church of Religious Science. So, well, let's go into our next segment, which is our Heart Harmony. What do we call it? We're calling this segment Heart Wisdom. Heart Wisdom. I love Heart Wisdom, and I love how these names are just coming out in our podcast and how we're starting to really feel this and feel what it is. And Heart Wisdom is when we are really just sharing from the heart. Kind of what we do now, but we give a couple of topics within our Heart Wisdom. And the first topic we're going to talk about is this new thought growth expansion experience that we have seen, and what we're really experiencing in new thought. And we call it actually as new thought ageless wisdom.
Yes.
And I've kind of shifted that language for me. I've been looking at it as an expansive thought with eternal wisdom. And it's not like I'm going to change the name of a movement, but I had to really kind of find out, what are we doing? Am I having a real new thought? Or am I just having the same old, am I still regenerating the same old past thinking? Am I really having a new thought? So I have to shift that. Am I willing to have an expansive thought? And that I am. I'm willing to expand upon these principles that we know work. One of the challenges we talk about all the time is, how do we continue to create a space where it's sustainable, that we're moving forward in this new thought? Because I believe we are in our own dogma. We have our own dogma of this has to look like this has to look like this. There are these appearances of fractions, like you have agape, you have Center for Spiritual Living, you have unity, you have divine science, which is all under the same movement of having an expansive thought. How are we going to start bridging this? What is your experience about this?
It's interesting. And I chuckle at God. I feel like it winks at me because when it brought me to Las Vegas, I was welcomed immediately by CSL, and then introduced to the senior ministers at Unity. And then I was invited to New Thought Ministers of Las Vegas meeting, which invited all of the ministers from the local areas, both from CSL and Unity. And so they invited me as the agape aspect, right? And then they were collaborating to do a fundraiser, and they were going to have Ricky do a concert. And I instantly had the awareness of, this is how Spirit is working to bring them all together.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. What and I see, my feelings around this, and this is, and I don't want to be in judgment, but I want to be in awareness. So I bring this in our conversation, especially when it comes down to the way we pray and what our principles. We're really saying the same thing, but we have different ways of delivering it. It's like if you have a cousin that lives in the South and a cousin live in the North might say you all, but in the South they say y'all. It has a different flavor to it, but you're saying the same thing.
And I know that you've heard that the feeling is the secret, right? And there's even a book called that by Neville Goddard.
Right.
And I remember when I first started at Agape and landed in prac studies, and during the first week of practitioner studies, the facilitator asked us to pray. And I had only had one prayer class at that time, I believe. So I hadn't yet learned the 6 steps that agape. And all I could do was think about how Reverend Michael sounded from the pulpit. So I tried to copy it when I was asked to pray. And it was just, very fast, but there wasn't a delineation of the steps at the time. And my facilitator was so kind. She said, the only thing that matters is the feeling.
Oh.
That's what fuels the prayer.
Yes.
And I believe that the steps are designed to get us to the feeling in the first place.
Absolutely. Because God don't know nothing about no steps.
No. And it doesn't speak English, and it doesn't speak Japanese, and it doesn't.
Right. It's the feeling tone. It's the energy and vibration. I tell the story that I was in a board meeting when I was senior minister at CSL Fort Lauderdale. I was in a board meeting, and we were arguing because I learned the 6-step prayer. Mm-hmm. I began with gratitude, and that's the first step. And the board at the time was saying, but we are taught we only do 5 steps, and your 6 steps is not in alignment with CSL. And I went, but gratitude is in alignment with God. So what is more important for us to be in alignment with man's law or the law? Mm-hmm. And part of the work was seeing how we are so attached to how our spirituality needs to look. Mm-hmm. And we want to put God in the box. You want to go, okay, well, CSL says 5 steps. So we're going to stick with 5 steps. Mm-hmm. Or the fact that in some places I've heard, is it really Ernest Holmes? Did Ernest Holmes really say that? And it's like, hold up. God is speaking through and as Ernest Holmes, but God speaks through and as you. So don't we have the ability to have an expansive experience with our language, what we're doing, what we're saying?
And somebody, I think Reverend Michael is asking, what are the 6 steps? So the 6 steps are, let's start there. There's gratitude, mm-hmm. right? To bring us into the frequency and the vibration, right? And then there's the recognition step where we're describing to the best of our ability what God is, recognizing God. And then we unify ourselves with God. And then there's the realization step. Mm-hmm. Then we give thanks for the prayer that it was spoken. And then we release it to the law, right? Yeah. Knowing that it is fulfilled. So, one of the things that I've had a couple of conversations about, like the spiritual pitfalls, potential spiritual pitfalls along my own path so far, mm-hmm. that I'm grateful that I've been taught how to be flexible, right? Yes. Because there's always a newness to God. And so just because something was appropriate for me to learn, grow, and unfold, 20 years ago, 10 years ago, 5 years ago, it may not necessarily be what I need now at this stage of my unfoldment and my evolution. And so can I apply that as flexibility as a practice, as a spiritual practice mm-hmm. in my life? And as somebody that needed structure and order to feel safe, right? Ooh. Right? It's like, and that somebody wanted to move one of the items out of place, and it's like, no. Right? But learning that I could let go of control. I could deepen into trust. I could cultivate a regular dialogue with God to get its input on what's happening or what it wants to happen, so that I'm not rigid in how I think things need to be. I can be open at the top, like they say.
Open at the top. That is true freedom. You're talking about being completely free from, our internal dogma and rules and regulations we put on ourselves. I remember, and when we first graduated from practitioner training, we go through that training up on the stage with Reverend Kathy Mack, uh-huh. and we are learning how to do our pulpit rotation. And I remember getting up on stage and I was so freaking nervous in my head.
Yes.
And I had jumped over once, and I know the steps. I was in the steps. I know it. I prayed, worked in the prayer pyramids, got up on stage in front of, all my colleagues and everyone in the practice session. And I skipped unification. And it was one of the things that I just never forgave myself for doing. I eventually did. I went, hold up. It's all good. But every time, and I believe it happens to me every time I have pulpit rotation or I'm praying on stage, which I do quite a bit right now, there's always this little tinge within me of don't miss that step. Or make sure you get in that, and then I'm listening to other people that I love, like Michael, man, he just does Michael Beckwith, but he's like, hello, let's roll through this. So I eventually began to release steps when I pray. And when I release that, my own dogma of having to get it right, the prayers start to flow through me and as me.
I like that. I like the steps as a structure that's kind of like in the background, because here's what I've noticed when I'm on pulpit, when I'm giving talks, when I'm teaching classes, that the energy feels like it gets increased. The energy of God going through me as a vessel, and it's so expansive, right? And it feels powerful. So, and all of a sudden it's like, oh, there's that model. What step am I in?
Yeah, so exactly.
It helps me in that way.
I totally get. Thank you, Michael, for that. Thank you for dropping that in there. I totally agree. I believe, and we always said this, that part of learning these steps, and if you're new to New Thought and you've never been in a New Thought church, we're talking about these steps we take in something we call affirmative prayer or prayer treatment. And I remember in Prac 2 having a conversation with one of my facilitators. I can't remember who it was, and I should have, but the words set with me. And she said to me, it might have been Charlotte. I'm not sure exactly who it was, but she says, do you love jazz? And I mean, I love jazz. What do you love about jazz? The improvising and going all and doing their having their freedom. And she said to me, do you know every jazz musician that's great, before they can improvise, they know the scales. They sit in the scales. They practice the scales. You must know the basics before you can improvise. You can move, you can groove. And I believe that's a structure that we look for in prayer treatment.
I know that as a facilitator and now instructor of practitioner studies, people come in and they have fallen in love with the feeling tone of prayer, right? And so they're like, I want to become a practitioner. And then they land in practitioner studies, and there's all this format that needs to be learned. And they almost feel like we're taking like that beauty of the prayer out of it, because we focus on the steps for 10 weeks, right? Or the rest of our lives. Right?
Yeah, for the rest of our life. Exactly. I think, go ahead. I'm sorry. Go.
Whether it's 5 steps or 6 steps, and they're like, you're taking the magic out of it. You're taking
I love that. Here, our friend, you mentioned Ricky Byers in the beginning. Our friend Ricky Byers said to me when she came to Florida, and she said to me, we get in New Thought, even that word, the title of it, New Thought, we stop at the head. And we say, change your life, change your thinking, change your life. We get stuck here. And, even the science of mind, everyone goes to the mind, but we're talking about the science, the study of the one mind, God, the energy. And Ricky said to me, listen, we got to stop having these new thoughts, and we got to have a new feeling. And this is why the feeling is so important. Music drops us into the feeling tone of God. So we get to leave out of here and get into what we're feeling.
I love that you brought that up, right? Because we have 3 brains within our bodies. We have the one that's in our head. We have the one that's in the heart, the intelligence of the heart, and then we have our intuition in our gut.
Wait. I thought you were going to go to a whole different space. I don't know. We might get censored for this one. I thought you were talking about another area of the body where the brain goes for us guys. We think sometimes,
No, but yeah, I do know. But for me, as a Gemini, it's like, right, and ruled by air and Mercury, it's like there's almost like an addiction of hanging out up here, of wanting to find problems to solve.
Yeah.
So I have you hear me usually when I pray, I ask people to see themselves drop from their mind into their heart, and then feel what they sense when that happens.
Feel it. Shay, one of our viewers online, and if you're listening to this, we're actually going out on Facebook Live and YouTube as well. You can see this beautiful experience. And when you listen audio, you can go back to Facebook. And Shay writes in there, sometimes all I can muster is thank you. Absolutely. That's Meister Eckhart. If the only prayer you ever say is thank you, it will be suffice. Her comment is, sometimes I can only muster up is thank you and help. Yes. Help, thank you. Wow. I think that is another important author that I give, Anne Lamont. She also writes, says, other times I pray without ceasing steps and my God doesn't care. Exactly. God is my goal. I love that. A Course in Miracles. Thank you for sharing that. It's powerful. So, what we're going to do is we're going to take a little bit of a break, a commercial break. We're going to give you some information that's happening in New Thought Media Network, because we are listening to the New Thought Media Network. When we come back, we're going to talk about some spiritual travel stuff, and we'll continue this expansive experience of New Thought, because New Thought is expanding into spiritual travel as well. So we got a lot to talk about anyway. All right, so let's take a moment and we'll come back. Take a break.
Please help us say thank you to our organizational sponsors, including the Hefferland Foundation, Affiliated New Thought Network, International New Thought Alliance, Science of Mind Archives and Library Foundation, Center for Spiritual Living Denver, Center for Spiritual Living Midtown, New Thought Philadelphia, Planned Happiness Institute, Summit Center for Spiritual Living, One Heart Retreats, Center for Spiritual Living on the Lake, Unity Kitchener, Unity Spiritual Center Ottawa, Om Center for Spiritual Living, Satya Center, Begin Within Ministries, Center for Spiritual Living North Jersey, Unity of Savannah, and the Center for Spiritual Living Seattle, as well as all of our individual donors. Thank you for being part of the New Thought Media Network. Please like, share, and subscribe. New Thought Media Network, positively inspiring.
Join our celebration of Black History Month. Only on New Thought Media Network. New videos every day at 6 a.m. Eastern Time, or watch anytime on our YouTube channel. 28 unique Black History moments. Every day in February. Come join us as we celebrate Black History Month. Only on New Thought Media Network.
New Thought Media Network proudly presents The High Vibe Hour. The High Vibe Hour with Rev Cynthia and Rev Skip. Fridays at 11 a.m. Mountain Time. Only on New Thought Media Network.
Hey, welcome back, everyone. I love our theme song. That's pretty cool, right?
It is.
It's a really cool song, right? Welcome back. We're just doing this heart wisdom, and we're talking about the expansiveness of new thought and getting out of the boxes and getting more of a feeling tone. What I'm loving about you, Rev, is that you've always have had this ability to download these new ideas about new ways we can show up. I've been knowing you for close to 20 years, and you just have this way, or a way of bringing and opening up yourself to having a new thought, new feeling. What do you equate that to?
Here, you know what? I heard something the other day. It was a podcast, and the interviewer was asking his guest, what does the soul do when it has arrived at like enlightenment, completion? When it arrives at the peak of the mountain? And the guest responded, there are an infinite amount of peaks and mountains.
Wow. Wow. I love that. So you're opening up yourself to go up another mountain.
Exactly.
To continue on this journey. One thing we teach in yoga is that once you think you mastered a pose, there is also something else to be found within the pose for you to master again.
Yeah, I love that.
And the funny thing about yoga, especially in teaching yoga and with poses, there are certain poses at the height of your yoga practice when you're like, I'm going to say, in a younger demographics, and I consider myself in the mature audience of yoga right now. But there were times where I was doing the forearm handstands and jumping from handstands into chaturanga, controlling. That's not my practice there. So there is a peak where you practice these incredible, challenging poses, but then there's a time that you got to give those poses back to the yoga gods because they're not for you anymore. But what is next for you is to find how you can continue to do your yoga practice and honor your body temple. Yeah. That's a new journey. Yeah, we think, oh, I have achieved my handstands and my balance, and I got it. But some place you're going to have to give that back. But what are you going to do? Do you stop doing yoga, or do you go on to another peak?
And I love that you bring that up because my body has been in different places as far as what it can do over the years.
Yes.
And sometimes the only thing I'm able to do is to come to the mat, close my eyes, and breathe.
Ooh. I said that this morning in my class. I said, gentle does not mean easy, because the most challenging thing that we can do is slow down and just be present.
Yes. I was just talking with someone about that, how as a Gemini, one of the biggest challenges has been to slow myself down in every sense, right? Because my mind wants to think at 100 miles an hour. And sometimes my mind is further out ahead of my body, and my body's trying to keep up with the mind. And then I end up exhausted on every level.
Wow. Exhausted from what? What are you fully being exhausted from?
Thinking, thinking, and my body gets tired too, trying to keep up with the mind, because it tries to follow all of the directions that the mind goes in. So that's why I love the practice of yoga, even if all I'm doing is rotating that, to bring my mind to a slower velocity, and then it comes into alignment with my mind, because that's what yoga means, right? Like union of mind, body, spirit.
The yoking, the bringing together, and I've always changed that. Technically, in our yoga books, it says the bringing together the mind, the body, and the spirit. And new thought for me, I had a new thought around this. Hey, I had a new thought in yoga. We're not really bringing anything together that's already there. Okay. But what we're waking up to the alignment that our mind and our body, I'm going to take a page out of Sue Morter's book, is here to support what the spirit is experiencing.
Yes.
The mind is here to make sense of what the spirit experienced. The body is the home of the Holy Spirit, so our spirit self, so it carries. But the truth is, we only need to align our thinking and our body with our spirit. And that's what yoga does. Yoga slows us down to help the alignment. And part of the work, I think for me, and is slowing down, but also it's okay to shut down. Because and I thank you for helping me to articulate this. I'm going to try to get this out because it's coming through. I'm making sense of what happens. Because I'm in the church and that's our work full time. I'm teaching at Equinox Fitness. I teach yoga and cycling. We do our show. I work on Insight Timer. I mean, my life is about inspiring people, giving the message of spirituality. I get home and I just want to isolate in my room. I want to shut down completely. Sometimes I walk through the house and my housemate Bill is like, he wants to talk. And then I'm realizing, oh, I'm going to shut down. I'm running. And it's not anything for Bill. It's about me. And I just realized that you helped me to articulate what was going on. Because I get home, I'm exhausted. I don't want to think. And so for me to come home and not think and try to do a yoga class after teaching a yoga class, don't work for me. I got to completely almost watch mindless TV, Netflix, spiritual practice. It is a practice that allows me to really kind of take care of myself and breathe and not have to think, because we're thinking a lot.
We are. And I believe that the only thing that, like, it doesn't matter what we do so long as our conscious awareness is present.
Yeah.
Right. And we're holding ourselves in a way that is loving and supportive of every aspect of ourselves. And maybe even, you know, it's like if you were to scan your day and see all of the things that your spirit, mind, and body participated in, would you be able to thank it for all that it does?
And see, that's what I don't do. Sometimes I leave the church and I'm thinking, okay, what do I have to do next? And sometimes it's just getting home and being and doing what we doing an inventory every day. And sometimes I don't do it. Sometimes I do, but then sometimes I'm like, okay, what can I do next? Am I doing enough to spread this light? How can I show up? It's interesting, and I'm still working this out. So I'm gonna take some more time with this because I've been contemplating this, especially recent of being back here in LA and working full time in the industry here. Where is this space and what is happening when I just want to stop thinking?
And I feel that is when the inspiration and the guidance can come through, is when we slow down the mind. Because in the energy codes, Dr. Sue describes it as the mind moving like a ceiling fan, and it's moving like this. So we need to turn down the speed so that it's moving slow enough that the inspiration that comes up from the gut and the heart can get through the fast moving ceiling fan to our awareness, our conscious awareness, right? There's so much wisdom within us, innate wisdom that is stored within the body. But if this thing is moving too fast, then it can't get through.
That's dope. That is so incredible. You're right. You're right. You're right.
So but because we're trained, I believe, to seek validation, approval, and love outward. That's part of the reason why. What else can I do to make sure I earn my keep, my value? And it's like, and what we got to do is come within so that we can hear how much we are loved.
Yeah.
Wow.
Well, this is a good segue to the second part of our heart wisdom, spiritual travel. And I'm hearing, that's when I fully really kind of shut down. And even when I'm facilitating retreats, there's an element of, I don't have to really be anywhere, but just to get to the room where we're having the retreat.
Yeah.
And you just went to Peru. How was that sacred travel for you? How was that? The sacred travel is a very important part of the expansion of New Thought.
Yes. All right. So for me, it's nice because it feels like there's only one thing I have to do, and that is be present to the itinerary of the day.
Ooh.
The only thing I have to do is show up for myself while I am on this spiritual retreat.
Yes.
Right. Just one thing. That's all I got to do. So it feels nice, right? Because usually we have a number of things that we need to do throughout the day.
Yeah.
So in Peru was the trip that I was afraid to take because of the physical condition that I've experienced for 20 years in my body, and it not having a lot of strength. I didn't know that my body would be able to support me through Machu Picchu or the Andes Mountains, right? Because at a certain point, we had a drop off point, and then we were left on our own for like 5 days in the Andes, and we had to hike all the way down into the valley, and then at the end of it, pack up our stuff and hike back up to the pickup point.
Wow.
And at a certain point, it's like I didn't want to drink water because there was no bathroom in the Andes. And I didn't want to have to use the restroom as I'm traveling with all these men.
Oh my goodness. Were you the only woman on this retreat?
No, there were a couple of women,
Okay.
but there was a lot of men as well. Right?
Wow.
So when we're doing yoga, right, and we're trying to bring the mind, body, and spirit into a coherent oneness. I believe that that's part of what was facilitated on that trip, because there was part of me that wasn't trusting the body as a team member, as one of my teammates. I was like,
I love that.
mm-hmm.
That's deep.
Yeah. And so once I was able to do all of those things, although very challenging,
Yeah.
it also, here's the other thing it facilitated for me. As hard as it was physically and mentally and emotionally, I simultaneously felt a wave of grace that was carrying me.
Ooh. Say that again. Say that again. That's like the nugget right there.
Right. I almost could see it, but I definitely felt a wave of grace that was with me through every difficult step, through the difficulty and the challenges of breathing because of the altitude. And it was like, even though it was really hard on every level and I could feel, there was also here, my child, I've got you.
I got you.
Mm-hmm.
I got you. You've also, and you've done Peru, but you've also have done Egypt. Yeah. Which that is one of those both places that I've yet to go, but I want to go through. And I remember you sharing the times of climbing the pyramids. Inside the pyramid was a challenge too, right? There was something that was happening in the pyramid to get to the top. What was that like for you in climbing the pyramids?
And so if you think of a square that is not much bigger than the size of our body if we're crouched down, right? You have to walk almost like it's on your hands and knees pretty much, and you're going through a small space at an angle for about almost like a half a mile, right? So I remember the first time I went, I think I've gone 4 times so far. And the first time I went, I was in my mid 30s. I think I was 34, 35. And I remember thinking, people cannot wait until retirement to do this trip because of the toll that it takes on your back and your body, right? To be able to go through these temples was the first awareness that I had. And then I remember also, but here's what it is. You're required to get the pyramids were designed intelligently. They're designed this way as an outer representation of needing to come inward to arrive at the king's chamber, right? So every time that we go into meditation, every time that we go into prayer, every time that we go into yoga, we're doing what the physical journey of the pyramid facilitates, a coming in to arrive at the king's chamber within our own being.
Ooh. Wow. Wow, you've given me so much to think about today. I've done many trips myself. I traveled literally all over the world. I've gone to Croatia 3 times to go to a music festival. I love music festival. I love dancing. Let's get on a plane and travel for a full day to get someplace to dance. Okay, that's just you know. But I think the most, prolific trip or the most inspiring trip for me to
Mhm.
find myself was when I went to Bali.
Really?
I went
Tell
to
me.
Bali. Yeah, Bali was an incredible experience. I had the chance when I was in Florida to take 25 people to Bali with me. So I created a retreat along with Chris Michaels, who was the senior minister at the time. And I create this space where people can go away to a place that I always wanted to go to. I
Mhm.
remember when we were both writing our first books, um, or actually, I was writing my another book. You're writing your first book. We were going to go on a trip. In fact, we were going to travel together to Bali.
Mhm.
Remember in 2019, and COVID happened,
Yeah, we
and,
were.
and the trip was canceled. And I went, okay, God, I know I'm supposed to go to Bali. I thought this was it, but whatever. And then I got a chance to create a trip along with our friend Cricket, which and
Mhm.
Cricket lives in Bali, and he works. He has the CSL tours, which helps to create the trip for us, and we get to bring the people to have the spiritual experience of going into the temples and
Mhm.
going in and releasing things that no longer serves and going through the spiritual practices. And Bali is one of the places where you truly feel the presence of God. We are absolutely in the vortex. And, I felt that too when we go to Sedona.
Mhm.
I feel that in Hawaii. But Bali was just, Indonesia is a vortex within itself. And it shifted me so much. I really got a chance to meet a medicine woman, Eva Giroux, who told me that things were going to expand, things were going to shift. It was one of those things, and the food was unbelievable. I
Mhm.
had never tasted papaya until I got to Bali. And I got
Wow.
to Bali and taste a real papaya. The stuff we have here in America is just, you go someplace where there is no pesticides, it's all clean food.
Mhm.
I lost weight in Bali, and I was like, we're eating so much, and it was like, so the beaches, the customs, the love. It's an enchanted space, and it filled with so much spirituality. So I am so grateful that you and I we're going back to Bali twice.
Yeah.
You
So,
have a trip coming up. When's your trip coming up to Bali?
so the trip dates are July 13th through the 24th of this year. And I'm excited about that. Skip, tell me about how were you different when you came back from Bali?
Yeah, when I came back to Bali, I realized that I was holding on to things that was no longer serving me. I
Mhm.
realized I didn't want to be in Florida anymore. I didn't want to be in the space I was in. It was eating at my soul. And Bali gave me the invitation to free myself from what no longer serves. A
Wow.
year later, I was back in LA.
Mhm.
Um, yeah, and I became very awake and aware of this divine presence within me.
Mhm.
And it took what we've been talking about, shutting down.
Mhm.
And I was facilitating the retreat,
Mhm.
but I only had to get up and, like you said, go teach yoga in the morning,
Mhm.
give the spiritual lesson the rest of the time. It was about, we had some spiritual stuff at night, but yeah, it was about really releasing and letting go. So yeah, that's a powerful, powerful journey.
And the word retreat means to go within.
Yeah, to go within. So I love it. We have to get to because we're going to shut this down in less than 6 minutes. But we
Mhm.
want to check in, which I love. This new segment that we kind of talk about. It's called the Vibe Insights.
Mhm.
What's your takeaway from this experience we just had? What's your vibe insight?
For me, all the various ways in which spirituality can be experienced in our lives. That there isn't just one way for this infinite presence that is the source of our existence to experience itself as you and me and to discover itself in new ways through you and me.
Mm.
And it does get to be fluid, and it does get to be infinite, and we get to let go of the idea of it something being right or being wrong. It's all God.
Ooh. Wow. Wow. Powerful.
What about for you, my friend?
Mine is something you said earlier on that really reminded me of something very, very important. You talked about in the challenges of your physical body on your retreat,
Mm-hmm.
and you saw the grace. You
Mm-hmm.
saw the grace that God was holding you step by step by step. Here in this time in LA, it's just been feeling so heavy,
Mm-hmm.
and it feels even heavy to walk. And it's been even heavy to go out and to teach and to show up. And I'm going to teach a cycling class this evening that I'm going to, but there's grace in the challenges.
Mm-hmm.
I got to be willing to see the grace in the
Mm-hmm.
midst of this. Be willing and willing to receive the grace. And grace can be very tricky in the old paradigm of Christianity. It's unmerited gift. But in our new thought, we speak grace is because we are. We are in God. Therefore, there is the ease of grace because we're in God. Grace is something that we have. So my insight is look for the grace that is already present.
Beautiful.
It's already here.
Mm-hmm. I love it.
Yes. Hey Rev, where can people get in touch with you? What do we need to know about you?
So cynthiaabriz.org is my website.
Yes.
And my handle on Instagram and YouTube is I am Cynthia Abriz.
And if they go to your website, will they be able to click on the Bali banner and join us and come to Bali, get all the information?
Absolutely, yes. And we're actually going to do an information meeting on Sunday
Yes, we are.
at 5 p.m. Pacific. So Skip, our local tour guide, Cricket, and myself will be facilitating an information meeting at 5 p.m. this Sunday, January 19th. So shoot me a message and I'll send you the Zoom link.
Yeah, hit us up on social media and hit us up and DM us and let us know you want to go to Bali with us. And there are two opportunities. So we're going to really focus in on Reverend Cynthia. Mine is coming up in 2026, but Reverend Cynthia is coming with me for a sacred experience called Nippy. And it's a time of sacred release. Everything goes silent. The whole island goes silent for one day. So we're going to have a silent retreat within the retreat to Bali. So we have many, many options, but join us to find out more information, what's coming up very soon. You can, follow me on all the social medias as Rev Skip Jennings on Facebook, on Instagram. Go to skipjennings.com. You can find out more information about all the other things we're doing. Follow me on Insight Timer as well. Rev Skip, just look for Rev Skip on Insight Timer and on YouTube. And we do have some books too, and we were talking about that. Maybe we'll do a little bit about our books next week. But Reverend Cynthia, what's the name of your book?
Life Finds a Way, Journey of Healing and Return to Wholeness.
And it's on Amazon. Make sure you pick up a copy of it. And my book is a little book for big transformation, and that's already out on Amazon. And we have a new book that's coming out that Reverend Cynthia, you've seen it, and a few other people have seen it and said to me, this is going to be an amazing book. And I'm Sarah, so excited. So stay with us and do me a favor. Please support the New Thought Media Network. This is a ministry, y'all. We are here to do a ministry. Just go to the website is ntmedia.org/donate. More is coming. We're developing this incredible high vibe brand. So we're developing our Patreon page where you can support myself and Reverend Cynthia and look for a high vibe retreat that might be happening sometime. Wink, 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 wink. Besides Bali, Bali, we're researching some domestic retreats as well. So get ready. Things are expanding. We're having a new thought, girl.
We are. Oh my goodness.
You're having a new thought. And I just want to say, if you're in the LA area, please be safe. We love you. And anywhere in the world, please be safe. We love you. God is with you right where you are going through these times. Trust. You're not alone. You are not alone. So Peace and blessings, everyone. Peace and blessings. We love you. Transformation is a choice you can choose today. Peace.